And this week, trying to beat the rain, I have Amarok Core by VW. It's a bit of a strange old mix with VW. There's 16 variants in all. 16, I mean that's a whole shed load. I'm going to cut this short and do the rest from in the car because it's about to start raining. There's just a couple of centimeters space, but my feet do go through right under the seat in front. But by God, it's cramped back here. At least there's good vision because the headrest in front is quite small. But in the front, it's a little bit better than in the back, but this still feels terribly industrial. I mean, I like the feeling, but it's old VW, not new VW. So does that mean it's worth its money? Well, I think it is. This is 50 grand. This is a slightly older style Volkswagen sound system. Down below are the all-wheel drive controls, including the 4x4 low, and on the other side, some off-roading controls, including one that will lock the all-wheel drive system, the 4Motion, into two-wheel drive. There's manual air conditioning. Also, there's turn them on yourself lights and shift them yourself gears. The upholstery has a slightly industrial feel to it, but all in all, I quite like the interior, even if it does feel a bit basic. Now remember, this is the older style of construction with a ladder chassis, so you can get one with just the two front seats and the cabin, but a ladder back. And that means you can put anything on it. You can put a tray, you can put a camper, anything you like. Looking at the front, this is a 6.3 inch, in fact 6.33 inch touchscreen. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but no DAB radio, which for me is a little bit annoying. I've got my lights turned off. I keep forgetting to turn them off. And the wipers, they're also manual. They've got intermittent, but they're not rain sensing. Now around town, the manual is nice to use, but as you can see just then, I keep missing third. And I've been driving a manual for years. Like you think I'd be used to it. I think this is one of the few cars that actually benefits more from the 8-speed auto. And it's certainly the one I would rather. Love manuals though I do, this one is just a little bit too notchy for my liking. And also I think the 8-speed gives you a little bit more flexibility, especially in traffic. Low is very low, and you've got to change into second almost straight away. The other thing that you notice is that this is, as the name suggests, a model that has been stripped of all of its extras. There's no blind spot monitor, no lane control, no auto wipers, no auto lights. One of the other things that's a great boon to a car that weighs just a shade over 2 tons is the auto hill hold. And it allows you to hold this vehicle on a hill while you take off, so you never roll back. You don't appreciate it until you're actually on a hill and about to roll back. Now you can hear the cabin is reasonably quiet. It's actually a lot quieter than you might expect. Now remember, this is the kind of vehicle that a tradie is going to want. They just want the cheapest car possible to hold their paint tins and what have you. Now you might think that a car that's been out for 10 years is a little bit dated. And certainly inside, this does feel a little bit dated. It's not bad, it's just a little bit dated. But I think there are times when you can take too much out of a car. I fear that this would not now get a 5-star safety rating. And some companies require a 5-star safety rating in order for it to be a fleet vehicle. So I see this as a vehicle that private buyers are going to want, that small businesses are going to want, someone that doesn't have very specific notions about what a car must contain in it. But it's a very different beast on the freeway, which we're going to find out right now. You can hear that engine is a little bit raucous, but it sounds actually more like a petrol V6 than a diesel. The pickup is more than acceptable, but this engine is the lowest tune of the V6 engines. And it gets 160 kilowatts and 500 Newton meters. I'm just going to set the manual cruise control. So now I've got to keep my eye on what's going on around me. So getting back to the engine, this V6, we've been getting about 11 litres per 100 kilometres, which is more than what VW claims this engine should get. The automatic version is the same amount of kilowatts, but it has 50 extra torque, so it's 550 Newton meters. But there's also trim levels like Highline, and we've tested that before. Here's the full price list. So you can see the top one is over $72,000, and don't forget, you've got to add on-roads onto that. There's a 5-year warranty, which is a little bit short of Kia's warranty, and Kia is going to be bringing out, well, so they say, a pickup truck. So all of these other brands are going to have to watch themselves. The driver dials are pretty standard VW. In fact, the whole interior is standard Volkswagen. One thing I particularly like is the center LCD can display a digital speedo. That's very, very handy, especially when you're in tight traffic situations. Now I want to talk a little bit about the suspension. The suspension is McPherson struts at the front and leaf springs at the back. So the combination of leaf springs plus a lattice chassis means this can hold a little bit more weight. It's the best for weight bearing. At 100 or 110, it is absolutely magnificent. It feels very much like a normal car to drive. But the second you hit a little bump, you feel how firm that suspension is. So the ride would be much better with a load on, as it is with all of these commercial utes. But when it comes to off-roading, remember there's only 192 millimeters of ground clearance. One thing about the cruise control is it's not very good at keeping a speed going downhill, which is really annoying. You've really got to keep your eye out. And now I'm in a tunnel, I've got to switch on my lights myself or I can't see the dashboard. So there are a few drawbacks to having a base model, but then you do get a lot of car for $50,000. The tray has a decent capacity, and there's an 80-litre fuel tank. Now, although Amarok does handle perhaps a little bit more like a truck than a car, it still handled that bend fairly well. And with the all-wheel drive system permanently on this slightly greasy road, it provides excellent grip. And that's one of the things that you really want, especially when you're talking about a car that is this big. And that's it. That's your lot for the week. VW's Amarok Core. If you've liked the film, don't forget, leave a comment below. Hit like, but most of all, just there to subscribe.